Okay, folks, do me a favor, make sure your iPads are closed for just a second. You're going to probably be using them a lot, and that is totally okay. Just want to make sure that we have a sort of maximally productive conversation. So a couple of things to keep in mind, and you might have to look behind you just for a second. One, you guys may remember a long time ago we talked about building ideas together. There were these different things to do, keep an open mind, use evidence, etc. I just really want to focus on the title of that. Remember, we are working together to construct our explanation. So it is expected that sometimes we're going to say things, and our classmates are going to need to disagree. Okay? That's really important. That's what real scientists do when they end up with a mystery, or in this case, kind of a mess of data. Let's figure out how do we make sense of it. And again, it's too much for one person, but somebody's got to get the conversation started. You may remember the roles that we have. In the inner circle, you guys are going to start out leading the conversation. You guys are talking. In the outer circle, you guys are observing, and there's a little thing where you can keep track of what's happening in the conversation. I'll talk about that in a second. But I remember from the last seminar, sometimes people in the outer circle are just almost having a fit because they really have a burning desire to say something. So we're going to put one empty seat here. You may make one trip when you're in the outer circle to the hot seat. If you want to add a quick thought, and then you return back. It's not like you're going to take over, but if you've just got something on your chest that's got to come off, right? That's your opportunity to get in the hot seat for a minute. One other thing I want to draw your attention to is there are a few sentence starters here. Sometimes when people are kind of having an academic discussion, you can make your tone a little more professional by starting with one of these sentence starters, right? Especially in the case where you need to disagree. To start with, well, I want to disagree because I think this evidence means that. Sounds way better than being like, nuh-uh. So we want to use these to kind of make sure that we keep our tone super respectful. Last thing, if you're in the outer circle, if you could please open up your iPad and in Notability find this document. It says NECM Day 2 Listening Board. Looks like this. Inner circle, you'll get your chance to do this when you're in the outer circle. You'll notice there are these 9 things that you're listening for. Whenever you see somebody agreeing or disagreeing, new evidence, you just want to put a mark. Oh, whoops. I have mine on eraser. A mark to indicate that you're paying attention to what's happening in the discussion, and you sort of keep track of what evidence comes up. Does that make sense? Yeah. Let me think if there is anything else. The last thing is that there may come a point where you feel like you want to talk about your model. Like you've drawn up some alleles and you want to show people what's happening. We can try to plug you in up here, or I will have a copy of the pedigree here, and while you're making your point, if you want to come up real briefly and be like, I want to show that this looks like that, or whatever, you can do that. We obviously want to be aware of how much airtime we're taking up, right? You can't make a 10-minute presentation. But if you want to do this so it's easier to visualize, like I'm talking about this particular individual, you can do that. Okay, so again, inner circle, you're going to have the first half of the time. Outer circle, you're going to have the second half of the time. To narrow our scope, I want to ask our inner circle to focus on claims 2 and 3.